And we are back with Dr. Jeannie Sykes with Cohen Health, and we've been discussing healthy options for the fall. So Dr. Sykes, earlier we were talking about fall fruits. What are some healthy ways to use those fruits? Maybe some recipes you can give us some examples of.
Well, I don't want to forget about just eating fresh fruit. It makes a great snack. It's easy, it's quick, it's affordable usually. So let's not forget that, especially those fall apples and pears. But also, you have the standard things like pies and cobblers and all those. I would encourage people to think about making some of those recipes with maybe not the usual amount of sugar. You may be surprised that using a little bit less sugar than what's called for actually, of course, is going to make it a little healthier, but sometimes the sugar that's called for in the recipes actually disguises a little bit of the flavor of the fruit. So try cutting back a little bit and see how that works for you. But then also think about one of my favorites, for example, is homemade applesauce. It is very easy once you get the apples cut and usually peeled. You can make it with the peel on, a lot less work, but a lot of people are not going to enjoy that as much. But plain homemade applesauce you can make with just apples, literally. You don't have to add apple juice, you don't have to add sugar, you don't have to even add water. If you keep stirring it, the apples will cook down. I like mine that is not pureed after, so it's chunky, but it's absolutely delicious. Of course, I'm going to add the sweet spices like cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, same spices you'd put in an apple or pumpkin pie. So that's delicious, and if you get used to homemade applesauce, you will not want to buy the stuff in the jar. Figs and cranberries also, you can get figs that are fresh or, of course, the dried variety now, and there are always dried cranberries available. Those are, in the dried variety, they're wonderful in some grain dishes like quinoa or rice types of dishes. And they also, of course, are really easy and delicious to add to oatmeal, have in yogurt as part of snacks and that type of thing. Does that help a little bit?
No, it helps a lot. Like I said, I'm keeping a list here. I'm going to definitely try that applesauce. So Dr. Sykes, soups and stews, they're often a go-to on a cold fall day, but as we know, they can get pretty high in fat or sodium. What are some things folks can do to make those in a healthier way?
Oh, soups have so many wonderful possibilities, and most of us do love soup season. And it's actually really easy to make homemade soup. And I want to state right here, you do not have to use a stock. Yes, that makes it good, but I've actually experimented a little bit with a couple of my favorite soups, and I can't tell you that I can tell the difference if I'm using a chicken stock versus water. So don't let that slow you down if you don't have stock at home. Two of my favorites are extremely easy to make, very few ingredients, and they're both pureed. One is a butternut squash soup. The other is a pureed beet soup. And the main ingredients are just onions and then the butternut squash or the beets. And of course, today you can even buy the butternut squash already peeled and cut in the store. And I think you can get it frozen that way too. And it's probably going to be very similar outcome. But I like to use an immersion blender after cooking the squash or the beets down with the onions. There are other spices that go in there, and all of it is extremely easy and absolutely delicious. And then you have really wonderful nutritional value to both of those. I will mention athletes are quite aware of the benefits of beet juice and some of the, again, phytochemicals that are, actually it's not phytochemicals, it's a type of nitrate that's found in beets naturally and is good for blood pressure and also good for endurance athletic performance.
Okay. Dr. Sykes, we probably have just time for one more question here. We've been talking about fruits and vegetables and things we can do with those. How much of that should we be incorporating into our diet on a daily basis?
Well, I really think of a good goal, everybody's heard of the 5 a day, 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. A serving of vegetables is just a half cup. It's not a huge amount. So I would stick with 5 a day as a good starting point. Of course, that's not your starting point if currently you just do 3 servings a week. However, if you are following a DASH diet, dietary approaches to stop hypertension, it's been shown in every study I'm aware of to have great health outcomes. And that diet, if you're following on about a 2,000 calorie level, would have you eating 4 to 5 servings of fruit per day and 4 to 5 servings of vegetables.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sykes. It's been a pleasure and a joy. You shared so much information, lots of good information here, and we want to make sure that you have it. So head over to the To Your Wellbeing section. In a little bit, we'll have it all there.